look, I don't think you want to run a coffee shop either.
No.
But I don't know if I do think that could be I think it could kill. I'm not looking to make money off it.
Yeah.
I just want to have something cool, and I don't want to
The thing about
that
coffee,
shit.
so here's the thing about coffee. Baristas are artistes, right?
Yeah.
So like you go and find someone who works at a coffee shop and you go, hey, come on and you can run your own thing. They'll do it for they'll do it for
I got
fair
a guy.
pay.
I got a guy.
Yeah.
The kid who runs Civil Goat, I've known him forever. And
Yeah.
He loves
Oh, I
all the
love
stuff.
Civil Goat.
Yeah.
I always get the
The
sandwich
Kendrick.
there.
Have you met Kendrick?
I don't know their names.
He's
but
been
I
there
go
like
all the
5
time.
years. He doesn't have any skin in the game.
Yeah.
And his thing is like,
Yeah, get
he
him.
loves Joe.
Swoop
He
him.
loves
let him and a
all
couple
those
let
guys.
Swoop him up.
Yeah.
let him and a couple of his dudes
Yeah.
come in and run it,
Yeah.
and you can own it, but you don't have to operate it because you can
Yeah.
make him either an operating partner or just.
I just
make,
wanted to have great coffee.
Yeah.
Literally, I don't even.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if it. I'm not looking to make money on it.
Then just
come
give him
occupy
an
the
hourly
space.
give him an hourly rate plus his tips or whatever, and be like, hey, make good coffee.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
You
Here's all,
make the
what do you
menu.
need?
Well, and then I thought we could buy pastries and stuff from you guys
Yeah.
potentially,
That'd be
and
dope.
stock all that there. So if people want snacks or whatever,
Lots
I
of
don't
sugar and
know. Yeah. You set them up, we'll knock them down.
Nice burger.
No, I mean, I think downstairs you don't even do like a steakhouse. You just like do like a carnivore like meat, like
That would
thing.
be dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you see what we've done
Meat
with the
and fruit.
second floor, when you come back and you see what we've done in person, it's a sick building now.
Yeah.
And I'll show you the renderings of the landscaping and stuff. I was showing Tom because he was like, when are you moving into the new place?
That's so sick.
Yeah.
Are we?
We're ready.
Not a damn chance. Not a damn chance.
Well, dude, thank you for being here.
Dude, thank you for having me.
This
Yes,
is
thank you.
probably the episode I've been looking forward to the most, because you and I talk a lot about just how difficult and lonely and hard it is to run a company, and you run several companies, and I mean, we've talked about it, over wine and stuff, but I would love to have more of an in-depth conversation about like the mindset behind, just like, I mean, the amount of things I know that you've been through.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine that you haven't given up yet.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. I don't have a lot of friends where I have to text them and be like, dude, you should get security so you don't get assassinated. I think I have like 2 friends like that.
So wild.
But you've been on, in the last couple of years, you've been on everybody's podcast, and you've been really driving home this sentiment about. I mean, you're going to forever, whether you get credit for it or not. But like, you will have influenced the way that the United States is going to look at healthcare, and
That's the hope. Fingers crossed.
well-
And I feel like we have a lot of momentum. A lot's already happened.
But I can already see it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I can see whether it's a coincidence or not, but the coincidence would be the people that you've spoken to now are saying it out loud.
Yeah.
And so, I just, I'm sure you make enough money to not give a shit, right? I'm sure you don't have to put your life and everything on the line. And so really just want to get into not so much about the evils of the pharmaceutical companies, because everybody can see, watch you on Joe, watch you on Tucker, watch you on all those, but really get to sort of understand, how did you get on this journey? And along the way, what are some of the things that you've like had to overcome, and how do you get yourself to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. I didn't go into it ever thinking I wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a veterinarian or a wildlife biologist and work with animals. I love
No way.
animals. And like all I wanted to do, I thought it'd be so cool to like be a wildlife biologist and live in tents and follow wolf packs. And like, that was my dream as a kid.
That's sick.
And then, I just remember in high school, I struggled with grades, and I was dyslexic. I was ADHD, all the typical stuff. I struggled in that rigid structure of that system. I think I told you this at dinner the other night. It was my senior year. I meet with my guidance counselor, and she goes, well, what are you going to do after school, after high school? And I said, I guess I'll go to college. She goes, Brigham,
Wow.
college isn't for everybody.
Oh my God.
And I
Whoa.
remember being so mad that I went to college out of spite because that woman told me that. And I ended up graduating college. Like, long story short, I graduated college in 2.5 years with a 3.99 GPA.
Damn.
I got an A-
Let's go.
in statistical analysis. Other than that, I got an A+. It was an A+, A- system at University of Houston. I got out as fast as I could. An opportunity presented itself to be a drug rep. I think I told this story on Rogan, but it was just dumb luck. I mean, I still was like, I don't know. I kind of want to do something with animals, but I guess I can make money and then figure out what to do with animals and wildlife and conservation. And so an opportunity came to get it to be a drug rep. And that's why I graduated college so fast. They said, hey, a president interviewed me, loved me, said, when are you graduate? And I said, in 2 years. He goes, oh, well, we're launching a drug in 8 months. If you could be out in 8 months, I would give you the keys to the castle and let you be one of the few people in America to launch this blockbuster drug. And so I went and petitioned with the dean of U of H. Like, one of the things you'll see time and time again is you got to be at the right place at the right time, but you also got to know when you're at the right place at the right time. And you've got to not take no for a fucking answer.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time I saw an opportunity, and I went to the dean, and he said, look, if you can get 2 professors to endorse you, I will allow you to take 24 hours a semester while working full time, because I was working at Compact Computers. And so I got 2 professors to endorse me. We pulled a miracle out. I took 24 hours a semester. I took 24 credit hours in summer school.
Damn.
And I graduated in that 8 months so I could take that job as a drug rep. And I launched Cialis, the
Wow.
Viagra
No way.
competitor.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was my
Crazy.
first glimpse into healthcare. And I just saw how, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't want to make it all bad, and I've told that story before. And then from there, I realized, this isn't for me. It's not very entrepreneurial. It feels very rigid, and I was dropping off cupcakes and begging people to use prescription medicines. And then I saw dark sides I didn't like, and I ended up jumping from that into surgical sales. Had the privilege of working with some of the best and brightest surgeons in the country, learning the more entrepreneurship pathway forward. And we could go down that rabbit hole, but I did that, and that led to seeing opportunities in other spaces. So while I was a surgical rep, I watched orthopedic surgeons writing opioids hand over fist. And I was just watching how many opioids would get prescribed post-surgery. And during all this, I was exploring the potential of opening a pharmacy and getting out of surgical sales anyway. And my brother dies of opioid abuse.
Wow.
He ODs and passed away. And it lit a fire where I was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to build a different way for these clinicians to not have to write these opioids. I already knew that was there. I just didn't have enough of the passion to dump what I was doing and leave this candidly $1 million payday a year
For sure.
to go take a risk selling non-addictive, non-abusive pain creams. And so I launch a pharmacy, and we get into that space and start trying to fix this opioid crisis and educate clinicians on the importance and the value of exploring alternatives to these deadly pain medications. And I did that until insurance just one day said, we're not covering this.
Wow.
And I had built a whole company around this. And the insurance just goes, yeah, we're not going to cover it anymore. We would rather people be on opioids. And now as you get deeper into it, and I break this down, it's because those insurance companies had a vested interest in opioids. They were actually 30% of the profitability of an opioid went to the insurance company. So they made billions off of death and destruction with these opioids.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And so that's kind of
insane,
like a
dude.
walk through history lane of how I got
That's
into
so
the
wild.
pharmacy.
Well, that's almost like straight out of a movie.
Yeah.
Your brother loses his life to a thing, and then you dedicate your life to eradicating the thing. It's almost like a revenge plot.
Yeah.
But like, I want to kind of go back a little bit because, you mentioned, and I have a very similar, when someone tells me I can't do something, I'm like, fuck you. That's my Marty McFly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, yes, I can. And then I will sometimes do it just to prove to them, and I think in a sense prove to myself that I can as well. But what do you think, if you've ever reflected on it before, or if not, what do you think that comes from? Did something as a kid, is the way you were raised?
I know exactly. I can tell you, well, a couple of different monumental moments. I remember, again, I was dyslexic, I was ADHD, but my sister was valedictorian of our high school. She was the golden child. She was brilliant. And I remember as a little kid, she had won the state spelling bee like 2 years in a row. And I'm sitting there playing with fucking sticks. You know, and my mom's like
Playing with lizards and spiders.
Yeah, and I remember I was coming down the stairs all happy-go-lucky. I had to have been like 8 years old, man. I don't know. And I heard my mom on the phone with my aunt, and she just said, my sister's Tatiana. She's like, Tatiana's brilliant. She's going to change the world. And I don't know what we're going to do with Brigham. He's just not smart. He's not smart. I don't know what he's going to do with his life. I worry.
Oh, wow.
And I heard her say that, and it hurt so bad. And I just remember thinking, you're fucking wrong.
Wow.
You're wrong.
So you just wanted
I'm
to
gonna
prove her wrong.
you wrong.
So you were born with that bone that says,
yeah, I was, and then
I won't fail.
Then we were a
Yeah.
foster family, and I won't get into the details because it's not woe is me. These things, Steve Jobs has a quote that resonates with me, and he says, when you look back at your life and you connect the dots, you'll realize you were always right where you were supposed to be. And the one thing I will tell you is, if I look back at my life, that is the most true fucking statement I've ever heard. Because there was a time where things were very tumultuous at my house as a child. In my childhood, we were a foster family. We had up to 5 kids at a time. You know, my parents' marriage was on the rocks. My mom was abusing drugs and alcohol, like a typical story. There was a night where there was an altercation, and she, you know, I'm like 16. I wasn't a baby, but she punched me repeatedly. And I laid in the bed that night, and I remember thinking, I have nowhere to go. I have no money. I have no way out of this situation. I have to wake up tomorrow and lie to my teachers and make it through the day. And I laid there, and I swear to you, I repeated, never again, never again, never again will I be in a position of weakness.
Wow.
I am going to graduate high school. I am going to graduate college. I am going to conquer the fucking world. I'm going to put myself in a position to succeed, and I'm going to protect that with everything I've got. I'm not going to let somebody outwork me. I'm not going to let excuses get in the way. I am forged in fire. I will wake up tomorrow and I will fucking beat this. I swear to you,
I love that,
That was
dude.
this launch moment for my life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've never looked back. Because even as we tell this story of my brother passing and me getting into, like, it's so many crazy, funny stories that look like moments. Like, how did I get my job as a device rep? I was a miserable drug rep. I hated it. My buddy has a one-night stand with a girl in Dallas, and he calls me and was like, I have a crazy story. I had a one-night stand with this girl, and she clogged my toilet. And I didn't have a plunger. And so he like had to go to the neighbor and get a plunger to unclog this girl's turds from his toilet. And he tells me, I'm like, oh my God, this is disgusting. And I'm telling you this story because he goes, yeah, but she worked for that company that you've been talking about you want to work for. Stryker.
No way.
And I go, okay, Justin, dude, invite her out this weekend. I'll come to Dallas. So I come to Dallas. He has to invite this girl out that clogged his toilet. And she gets me an interview. Okay, so then I get the interview, and I thought I crushed it, but nobody gave me a job offer. My friend dated this girl for like a month until I finally got the job offer.
Oh my God.
And so I get that job, and then I'm in that job. And then when I decided to start my pharmacy, I went out and I said, like any smart person, I'm looking at it, and I didn't have a ton of capital. I had about $100,000 in free capital.
Yeah.
I met with all of my biggest surgeons and doctors who I had known for 10 years. And I said, if I put my life savings into this pharmacy, can I depend on you guys to use me? And the ringleader was Walt. Well, I won't say the ringleader was a guy named Walt. He's a big name surgeon. And he said, for sure, I'll make sure me and all my guys use you, blah, 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 blah. So I build it, and I
That's
do
so
all of
dope.
it. And I put my life savings in. And the day before we open, I call him to let him know we're ready to rock. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. I signed a deal with these other guys. I'm going to make money off it. I'm going to go that direction. And again, I laid in bed. I sat there that night and I go, never again. Never
dude,
again.
yeah.
My life savings is in this. I have no business now. My entire game plan is toast.
There's no
I'm going to
way
have
out.
to go out and just fucking grind to figure out how to do it. And I did. I woke up the next day, I rolled up my sleeves, and I just went out and I started talking to doctors about the importance of not using these catastrophic, deadly compounds. And I was able to tell my story and tell my truth, and it resonated with enough people that I built a juggernaut. I really did. And overnight, we became one of the biggest pharmacies in the space. It went from me and one employee to 150 employees. We merged that into genetics testing to test if you have a potential to get addicted to the opioid. Then we merged that into toxicology testing. So I had a full turnkey solution. Then I went and met with like the head of Obama's head for opioid abuse. I contracted with that clinician to write me clinical protocols. We rolled out like legitimate clinical protocols to medical practices throughout the country, all focused on patient care. And what I saw is everyone else was trying to sell people on money. Oh, I can make you money. Oh, you can do this or we could do that. My message was people are dying. We have a duty to humanity and we can make money. I don't want to tell you we're not going to make money.
You make plenty of money,
obviously.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but we have to do right by people. If not, we're no different than these murderers that are pushing these opioids. And so that was my message. It resonated, and we became one of the biggest in the field. And then the insurance companies quit covering all of it. And then I had to look 150 people in the face and say I came up short, because even though we had built this business that made it 5 years, the other thing I would tell entrepreneurs is sometimes businesses are like seasons. You know, you have to know when the season's up, and maybe winter's over and summer's coming and it's time to shed that layer and figure out a new model. And that experience of having to lay those people off and everything I fought for, you know, I never again, then the never again then I get a survive that and I build
never
it.
Stops.
And then I'm like a never again moment again. And I cut it down to 15 people. And I said, guys, this is it. It's Operation Phoenix. It's us against the world. Insurance has got their way. They did what they said they would do. They put all of us out of business. They forced everyone back to opioids. They've cut all the safety nets. I've got to believe in humanity, and I've got to believe that the good guys can prevail, or everything I've been fighting for is worthless. Do you guys believe? Does this team believe? And the 15 people that stayed with me, we built Revive, which is
Crazy,
now
yeah.
a $200+ million company in valuation.
When's the
which is
movie
my
coming
pharmacy.
out?
Yeah,
I know, right?
It's a fantastic movie.
I'm like picturing all of this.
It's-
I was gonna say I really do appreciate what you guys have done, what you've done, and what you've built, because it's like it's so sick that you're for the people and for the health of the people, you know, and getting away from the original kind of route that everyone's forced to follow, you know, like breaking that system that's so corrupt, you know.
And I candidly saw, it's not that I'm just Mr. Philanthropic. I wanted to make money, and I just saw you're totally screwing people.
For sure.
And like when I owned a retail pharmacy and I attempted to bill insurance and I attempted to work within the insurance framework and I attempted to give something non-abusive, non-addictive, the insurance companies would write back and go, no, fuck you. This is what they get. Put them on an opioid.
Yeah,
Or don't
just-
get paid, you know, or put them on this step down drug.
This is the
And
only
so
option.
all I did, it wasn't some brilliant business visionary move. I literally took the phone book of drugs that they would send me every month and tell these grandmothers and grandfathers and hardworking parents, we're not covering these medications anymore. And I would just take it to my pharmacy that I was building that was cash pay. And can we make this?
Hell yeah.
And we
that's
would
so
just
sick,
start
yeah.
making that. And then we would make it for way cheaper. And then we would mail it to your doorstep.
So sick.
And so we cut out the insurance companies. We cut out big pharma. We compounded anything that we could compound that wasn't under patent. And you would be shocked how many HCG, a fertility drug, it's been off patent 20 years. But they're charging people thousands of dollars a month. Women who are struggling to get pregnant, men who struggle with their sperm count and their fertility rate. All of that's at an all-time low because of all the other stuff we've talked about with the MAHA movement, diet, lifestyle, nutrition. You know, they stripped our foods. We're eating processed foods. All of that plastics, microplastics in our testicles. 99% of men have microplastics in their tests. Our fertility rates are hurting. And all the while, they're still making thousands of dollars a month off a drug that's been off patent for freaking 20 years.
That's crazy.
And we can compound that and mail it to a doorstep for somebody for a couple $100.
Yeah.
And so every moment that something was catastrophic or devastating in the moment ended up being something that taught me more, that a lesson that allowed me to build the next thing. Even to the point where when I built the pharmacy and then I'm out educating doctors on the importance of comprehensive blood work. And then the insurances start sending letters to the doctors saying, don't pull this blood work. So then I realized, oh my God, none of these doctors are really looking at these patients because these insurance companies are bullying them out of doing so. What would it cost me to just build a blood lab and bring all this in-house and us do it right and us actually do the deep dive and help people figure out what's going wrong with them? But that includes me having to hire doctors and a medical practice and build all this.
Tons of stuff.
And we did it. We went out and we built Ways2Well.
Yeah.
And then Ways2Well became like another business. And I say it like gremlins, like don't ever feed them after midnight and don't ever get them wet. And unfortunately, I've done both. And so these gremlins just keep growing.
Yeah.
And now it's like I've got the blood lab, I've got the pharmacy, I've got Ways2Well, the telemedicine company, and then we're looking at acquiring a stem cell company and trying to just vertically integrate and drive down price.
Can you do like real, like those gnarly stem cells out here yet? Or is
No,
that, like,
not yet. What they're doing is they're really just manipulating and cloning and expanding the cells is what they call it. And so I always say more isn't necessarily better. Like in medicine, we say the most efficacious dosage is the minimal dosage required to elicit the desired effect with the minimal side effect profile. So like if you need testosterone, I don't start by putting you on 500 milligrams of testosterone.
right out the gate?
Right? Yeah.
There you go.
I want to do as little testosterone as possible to maximize your benefit, minimize your side effect profile. It's no different with stem cells.
Okay.
It's physiologically impossible to heal beyond a certain speed. No matter how many stem cells I give you, your body can only heal so fast.
For sure.
And so my argument is we are having like a 95+% success rate, not altering what God, nature, whatever you want to call it, gave us. Taking a healthy birth, healthy mother, pre-planned C-section, and taking these goodies, these cellular goodies that nature gives us, and just using those unadulterated, just processed, cleaned out for any potential contaminants or cross-pollination. We sort through all of that. 1 out of 10 umbilical cords makes it through to the final process, and it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Like we have kids. There's a testimonial that dropped on Ways2Well. A kid came to us, I think, with a form of muscular dystrophy, and this is not the stuff we treat. They heard me on Joe, and they're like, "Can you help?" And I'm like, "I don't think we can, honestly, but I'll try for free, and we'll see what happens." The kid went from a wheelchair to walking 30 feet.
What?
This stuff
That's
works,
insane,
man.
dude.
And I hate to say it, but on some of the stuff, I'm in the fringe. And if I'm on the fringe, I just do it for free.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to take somebody's money and it not work. But now the problem is the free stuff's working too. And so then they're telling other people.
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
all these people with muscular dystrophy are like, "Can you help?" And I'm like, "I don't
Reaching
know. Our
out.
sample size is 1. Yeah, we had a 1 of 1 success, but I don't know. That could be an anomaly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But
that's,
yeah, it's fun.
So I like the idea, like having the mindset of like things, you didn't say it in these words, but things happen for me, not to me, right? It seems like, and I can relate to that in the sense of like, most of the worst things that's happened to me are the things that if I look back on, I would not trade for the world because I wouldn't be where I am today had those things not occurred. And do you think that, like you mentioned before, that you know, all of these things being forged in fire, kind of like, you know, when you say never again, it's not that you'll never have that feeling again. It's that you'll never have that feeling from that thing again.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
when you're a cook, you cut every single part of your hands and you burn every single part of your fingers, but you never cut or burn the same spot twice. Right? You never do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of spots to burn.
Yeah.
And eventually you stop cutting yourself. And like eventually one day you only ever cut yourself like on like something stupid, but never on a knife or so do you think, did you have the foresight, like while it was happening to you, to be able to say, this is happening to me for a reason? I know.
No.
That, yeah.
I didn't. And
I'm curious, 'cause I didn't either.
One of the biggest things, other than the passing of my brother, when we built that other company and 150 employees, we were still battling and one of the last people left in the marketplace. And honestly, we may have even survived it. But during that moment, I found out when things got rough, 2 of my business partners embezzled money. And that embezzlement was the final thing that broke the camel's back because I was in the middle of trying to build and launch Revive, my pharmacy. And I had put these other 2 guys in charge of MediSmart, my previous company. and they had started embezzling the second I took my thumb off the fucking pulse. And it was a devastated, woe is me. Like, I went to therapy. And I remember the therapist going, Brigham, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. I'm going to say it twice so you hear me. And she just repeated it again.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, okay. And that devastation that broke, this is the funny Steve Jobs part. That devastation broke me so bad because they weren't just business partners. One of them was somebody who was one of my best friends in the world. I was best man in 2 of his weddings. It ripped my heart out,
insane,
man.
dude.
And I was so devastated. This is going to sound woo-woo weird, but I end up going to a retreat in Sedona where we did ayahuasca, and I end up meeting a guy who ran a nonprofit that was supporting the pygmies of Africa, and we became friends because I donated to his nonprofit, and we forged this friendship. And then I decided I didn't want to live in Houston anymore after all this had happened. I didn't really have ties there. I didn't have to live there, so I moved to Austin. And I'm on one of my first weekends in Austin, and I get a phone call from the guy I met at this retreat, and this was a former UFC fighter. And he said,
We actually had him on the podcast.
Oh,
did you?
Yeah.
No way.
yeah. So
Let's
my
go.
buddy Justin,
He's got a wild,
he's got
a
wild
wild
stories.
story.
Justin and I became really, really good friends. And Justin said, hey, I'm going to be in Austin. I want to thank you for donating to Fight for the Forgotten, and I just would love to connect. So I went to dinner with Justin, and he gets a text to go to this comedy show. And so we go to a comedy show, and it's Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan.
Sick.
And I met Joe Rogan that weekend because of Justin.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, and this is when Ways2Well was literally 2,000 patients, still in the red, all of my money in it, paying the employees, trying to build this vision. And long story short, I get a text from Joe. He needed some help with some stem cell stuff. He had banged up his knee, and I
Damn.
got to meet Joe, and we treated him. And then it took time, but I built trust and rapport with Joe, and we helped him. And then Joe referred me people, and we helped them. And then it
Dude,
just went
so
boom, boom,
rad.
boom, boom, boom. And then one day I was just sharing with Joe all the corruption of the industry and what I saw the insurance companies doing and what I saw the big pharmaceutical companies doing. And I was just telling him my story.
Yeah, yeah.
And Joe one day is like, this is fucking wild. And he goes, you should come on the podcast.
Sick,
And I'm like,
dude, no way.
Joe, I've never done a podcast. He's like, shut the fuck up. This is you guys talking. Come on the podcast. You've got to tell people the shit you saw, man. You've got to tell people.
That's
And because
wild.
those guys stole, I ended up at that event.
Yep.
Yeah.
I ended up becoming friends with Justin. I ended up going to that dinner. I ended up meeting Joe. I ended up going on the podcast. That ended up making the connection to Bobby Kennedy because Bobby Kennedy's team heard that podcast, which then led to them reaching out to me and me getting involved in the Maha movement, which then led to me testifying in front of Congress, which then led to me helping drive change and exposing corruption, which then led to me going on Tucker. All of this is like this chain of events.
And had those dudes not embezzled,
Boom.
Yeah.
none of it would have
None
happened.
of it would have happened. And
I
so
mean-
all these low moments, even when I'm in lows, and I'm dealing with a low moment right now, I've again have somebody embezzling money from me, which
Oh,
just
man.
sounds crazy. But when you build companies with 300 people, I have over 300 employees.
For sure.
Just statistically, there's going to be bad apples. That doesn't mean that 275 of these people aren't good humans working towards a cause they believe in.
Yeah.
It just means statistically you're going to find some bad apples, and I seem to find the worst. I don't know but it's led to a lot of good things too.
Yeah, it is wild because you look back at things and you go, I mean, you have a great story about that. Had you not injured yourself, right?
for sure.
You would not be on this path.
I would not be sitting in the seat right here.
You know,
yeah.
I had someone, we had a partner who embezzled allegedly. I guess you got to say allegedly, right? And that led to me having to announce the closure of my, first restaurant but then that led to then COVID. So I think it's very, and that's the thing about Not a Damn Chance, right? And clearly your Not a Damn Chance has been never again. That's been your
Yeah.
mantra,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I
And
love
so like the idea of nothing's going to stop me, no matter what, no matter how hard it gets. In fact, the harder it gets is the more that it fucking drives us, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting to talk to see, because I truly believe that the difference between success and getting close to success is getting back on the horse every single time, no matter what, no matter how hard you got bucked. Sometimes you get bucked to the point where it's like, and I'm sure you've had this experience. I've had this experience. You're in the shower, you are crying, and you're like, my life is fucking over. I don't know what to do. I don't see a way out. I cannot fathom.
That was this morning. No, I'm just kidding. It does come in waves like that, though.
For sure.
And then somehow you look up, it's a week later, and you've figured out the way through.
Yes.
But I feel like so many people get so close, and then they just go, fuck it, I'll just get a regular job.
They think that people see this beacon on the hill, like even with Ways2Well. If I go to like a medical, like a A4M, which is like a longevity conference, people are like, oh my God, y'all are Ways2Well. Y'all have it all. We don't have it all figured out. We are literally weathering the storm every day. Yes, financials are good. Yes, we have great people. Yes, we're winning wars. But this battle is we're winning battles. This war is in its infancy. And it's a long road to hoe, and it is a trial by fire. And I look at, like Teddy Roosevelt said, success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm.
That
That's
I have
fired up the
I
whole
have
time.
I've not heard that quote before,
That's a
but
good one.
that is exactly that not a damn chance, fucking
Yeah.
mindset. That's a very interesting way to sort of to phrase it, because I think that every time you look at it and you go, fuck, there's no way forward. There's just no way forward.
Yeah.
You just, I guess here's a good way to put it. Mathematically, if you remove failure as one of the options, failure, I have found, cannot occur. But you have to actually remove it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Michael Jordan said, I never lost a game, I just ran out of time. I view it that way. I'm like, okay. And I saw it in surgeries too. I'll say that. Somebody's under the knife. This is a human life in your hands. You have been trained for this moment. And an orthopedic surgeon, and they're going through it, or a heart surgeon, and they hit a roadblock. I watched this time and time, thousands of times. Okay. And then they go back to work, and then they hit a roadblock. Okay. And then they go back to work, and you just have to solve the Rubik's Cube because there's not a choice.
No.
Yeah.
There is no not solving it.
You have to survive.
You got to survive
can't.
and solve it. And sometimes solving it may mean a temporary loss to set yourself up for a long-term win. And like I've done that. I've done that in Operation Phoenix when we had to dissolve and shut down the pharmacies that build insurance, and I had to lay people off. It was not the end of a story. It was the birth of a story. And even when we talk about an apocalypse, if you really look at what an apocalypse is, it also does mean a birth. Like, and so to every end is a birth. Every ending is a beginning. And that's why I view it more as a season. It's very definitive to go, oh, I got fucked and my company fell apart. Now it's over. Is it? Or are you going to take what you learned from that? Like have you ever seen Unbroken, the guys who like bought wild stallions and literally rode them from Mexico to Canada?
No.
I haven't
Oh,
seen
it's
that.
fascinating. It's these A&M kids. They went out and bought young stallions. But he gives this quote.
Is it a movie?
Yeah, it's a documentary, but it's like a cowboy. And he said, my dad always told me, good choices comes from wisdom. And where do you get wisdom? Well, hell, from bad choices. Like, right? You
Sick.
learn over time, like, don't
this
do
is-
that. Don't touch that fire. Learn from this. Learn from that.
He looks like he's pulling up.
Oh yeah, it's
Something.
a great. That one's not it. I think it's called Unbroken. It's a documentary. That one doesn't look like the one.
Type in Cowboy A&M.
Yeah, Cowboy A&M. I believe it's Unbroken. Maybe it's
Unbranded.
See, I got
Yeah,
it
well,
wrong.
isn't Unbroken? Because I thought Unbroken
Unbranded.
was the I'm forgetting his name right now, but the Olympic dude.
It is a swimmer, I think.
Yes, yeah.
This
It
one
has to do
is,
with the
this is
Nazis.
fascinating. These
Yeah.
kids graduate from A&M. They want to do a trip of a lifetime, and they have this idea of how can we help there's like millions or hundreds and hundreds of thousands of wild stallions in Utah that are in such a booming population that they're strategically killing them because they're just wild horses, but they're beautiful. And they're some of the best genetics out there.
Who's killing them?
And
These dudes?
No, these dudes come in and they go, can we save them? We graduated from A&M. Can we teach the world that you don't have to go buy a freaking $20,000 horse? You could come adopt a wild stallion from Utah and retrain that stallion. So they train and break stallions and ride them from Mexico through one of the deadliest trails up into Canada. And it's a 3-month trip. And it's their journey on this trip.
And they just made a documentary.
And they made a documentary of the experience,
Wow, I'll
the
check that out.
lessons they learned. But it's a story of humanity, of like animals and our place in nature, and like I don't know, it's fascinating.
Yeah. No, I like that. What was the quote again? You said it was.
It was something to the nature of good choices comes from wisdom, and wisdom, well, hell, that comes from making bad choices, basically.
Well, yeah,
like we're going to learn from our mistakes,
and that's the thing is you have to be smart enough to realize. I say this a lot to my cooks. It's not a bad thing. It's not a mistake. If you're learning, if you can learn from it, it's a lesson. Right? It's something like every time you do something wrong and you learn something from it, that is a great opportunity. It's a great thing that occurred. Every time you do something wrong and you don't learn from it, that's a fucking tragedy.
I saw Patrick Bet-Davis, PBD. He had a CIA guy on his podcast asking questions about how to uncover when you're interviewing people for a job. Like he tries to screen for narcissism, and one of the things he asks is, "Tell me about a mistake you've made, and just shut up and you let them talk." And Elon asked that question, and Elon asked that question too because and then he makes them. Now, what did you learn from that, and how did you use that to improve so you didn't have that mistake again?
Yeah.
And as you peel back the layers to the onion, if somebody begins to say, "But this happened and it was their fault," or I was unfair, they didn't really learn. They're trying to divert and blame, and it may mean that they weren't to blame, but what did you learn?
Yeah.
How are you using that, whether you were to blame or not, to improve your business, your view on life, your approach to something? Like what I've learned is trust but verify, right?
That's one of my favorite things to say.
Yeah. And then the other thing I've learned the hard way is in even just 3 years ago, I would go, man, I'm good with a handshake. When things get big and dollars get big and companies get big, you don't do deals on handshakes. No. I can, but I know that I'm going to honor my half of the arrangement. You know, I've got to have a contract that I know is clearly spelled out, that we know where we each fall on this, and there's no confusion and nobody can feel slighted. And in a way, those lessons have helped make doing business easier.
For sure.
Because the last time I had to let an employee go, the last 3 times, it's all been in a contract.
Yeah.
It was all spelled out. How does this divorce happen? It wasn't this emotional beat down. It was like, hey, I'm sorry. It didn't work out. Here's how the contract reads. We're going to pay you this severance. You're going to leave at this date. You're going to do this. And it just makes life easier.
Everyone could go their own way.
Yeah. And it's easier to negotiate those things when everyone's in good spirits and everyone's optimistic. When you don't negotiate the exit when the divorce is already imminent, it just makes it brutal.
So, okay. So kind of back to your story a little bit, you go through these things through your childhood. You get to sort of get to the place where this happens with your brother. You get so these things keep piling on and pushing you further and pushing you further, and sort of like, I mean, how do you go from that to where you are today?
I think you just go one step at a time. That's the other thing, and it's not a clear path forward. Like the path has changed 5,000 times. Over and over and over again, the path has changed, the directions changed, the options have changed, the playing field's changed, the government's changed, the FDA's changed, the rules and regs have changed, and you have to be fluid. And again, another corny quote that resonated with me is Jeff Bridges. I read this book in college. It was Jeff Bridges. I think it's called The Dude Abides or whatever. It's Jeff Bridges and his shaman or life coach. And his life coach told him, anytime you run into something, I want you to think of the nursery rhyme, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream,
Yep.
merrily, merrily, life's but a dream. And he said, what I mean by that is this.
It's a simulation.
And well, yeah, and he was a river rafting guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so what
he
told,
meant it literally.
he was telling Jeff, when you fight the river's going to exhaust you and take you where it's going anyway.
Yeah.
The way to manifest, Jeff, is to find where you can guide the river and where you have to surrender to the river. And you ride the rapid. You can't control the rapid. And so it sounds a lot like surfing. I don't surf, but
Well, it sounds a lot like destiny.
all of those have made a point to me. Like,
those
you've
are
got to
great.
know when you're at the right moment at the right time. You got to act. You got to take advantage of you got to take the risk. You got to fire the shot. You got to take, you know what I'm saying? Like, put yourself in it. Like the first time I got invited to meet Bobby Kennedy, I was in a fucking hunting trip in South Texas, 8 hours away. They asked if I could be at dinner at 8 o'clock that night. I got up at 7 a.m., left South Texas, ditched the hunt, drove all the way back, get here, shower, shave, throw on a suit, get to the place I'm supposed to meet him, get a message he canceled on me.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, are you fucking kidding
No
me?
way.
I
Oh,
just
wow.
did all this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I was so bummed. All I can do is control what I can control.
Yeah.
3 days later, I get a text. Hey, Bobby's sorry he had to cancel. He's going to be in Dallas. Can you come there? Did it all over again. I had a whole day planned. I canceled everything, got in my car, drove to Dallas. Second time it came to fruition.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
But it's just not giving up. It's taking the chance. It's putting yourself in the position to do the right thing.
It's hard work.
And it's always a grind.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that just because you did the right thing, that it's all just going to be hunky-dory
No.
and all of it's just, the waters are going to part and
It's
everything's
always-
going to, it's this whole like jig-jagged like
Yeah.
pathway where you wake up one day and you're like, I know it looks like we're winning, but from my seat, I feel like I'm just getting my head stomped in and just solving fires, putting out fires.
I feel like you've always had the focus, you know, and you just kind of, the river takes you this way and that way, but you're like, you have your focus and you're not going to stop and not give up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're just going to keep pushing forward. you
And
know?
we've all talked, I know you and I have talked about manifesting, and I believe in it, but I don't believe it's as simple as people think. Part of manifesting is saying, I've never lost a game. I just ran out of time.
I like that
I'm
one.
not
Yeah.
giving up. And the
Yeah.
beauty of life is until we're dead and buried, the shot clock hasn't run out. Like we've still got the shot clock. Like, and I go back to, and this is what I even said in front of the Senate when we're talking about healthcare and how broken it is and how corrupt it is and all of these things. At the end of the day, 400 trillion to 1. 400 trillion to 1 is the chance you are alive in this room today. You have won the statistical fucking lottery. What are you going to do with it? What are we going to do with it? So I see the difference in my sister, not to, you know, this valedictorian of our high school, this brilliant person couldn't get over our childhood and is a chronic victim to this day and lives in a trailer and never achieved what she could have. And it's hard for me to know how bright and talented and brilliant she is and what she could have done if she just would have taken the tragic things that happened and made them a hero's tale rather than a victim. And I hate victims. I can't deal with that shit. Get that shit away from me. Everybody has bad shit. We all have bad shit. Nobody's life is perfect. And even getting to know all these famous people that all of us have gotten to know. God damn, man, a lot of those people have been through hell and back.
Yeah.
And
sure.
made it. And that's how they're where they're at. Like Jelly Roll, I know you had Jelly Roll. Justin Wren, I know you had Justin on. Good people. But it wasn't easy.
No.
Like
never
none of
easy.
those guys had an easy path.
But the thing that they all shared, like we had Danny Brown on,
Yeah.
right? And he said, I asked him about being in jail, and he said that's one of the best things that ever happened to me, right? He said he like became a man and like got his voice from being in jail because he was very timid, and he basically like learned how to stand up for himself and talk to people and socialize. And like I think that, again, back to what separates people from finding crazy amounts of success and not, isn't what happens to you. right? So I believe you and I have talked a lot about, fate and destiny and simulation and video games and RPGs and all this stuff. But I feel like, I'm very big on having faith. I have Sisyphus right here. Have I ever told you that?
No.
This whole side of my arm is Sisyphus. You know who Sisyphus is, right?
No.
So in Greek, you know who Sisyphus. Okay. Yeah. In Greek mythology, he gets.
I didn't realize that's what your tattoo is, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
But so it's this guy who gets like essentially banished is the wrong word, but sentenced to a lifelong eternity of rolling a boulder up the hill. And when he gets to the top, it rolls back down. And so I never ended up doing it, but the rest of this arm was supposed to be a whole scene of like a city burning, a city happy, like all these different things happening. I never ended up doing it. But the point is, I do believe that like you kind of get to pick up, like you have a purpose, and your job is to put your head down and roll the boulder up the hill, no matter whether it falls back down or it doesn't. And I think the thing about like sort of, destiny almost or fate, is and it does equate to a wave because, right? So you can sit out there on a surfboard and you can just keep having the waves crash and you can do nothing. The waves are still going, right? And it may or may not be predetermined that the next wave is going to be this much higher than it is. And you get to choose whether you catch it early, catch it late, catch it on time. What do you do once you get up, right? Do you actually, do you stay up? Do you carve? Do you do tricks? Do you, like, how much do you enjoy it? Or do you just sit there and complain about the fact that you keep getting hit by fucking waves? Yeah. Right? But the waves are going to come regardless. And so I kind of feel like it's almost like, remember those books we had when we were kids where it's like, if you want to open the door number 1, turn to page 11.
Yeah.
And if you
choose your own adventure.
Exactly. And I feel like for everybody, there may not be a unlimited amount of outcomes, but there's a few different outcomes, and you basically have to choose to get up in the morning and fucking kick life in the balls.
I agree with that. And Amanda and I talk about this, and a lot like what you're saying. I view it as you make the best decision with the facts you have, and you're here. Okay, choose your own adventure. Now you're here. It was the wrong decision. Okay, well, now you have to make the best decision with the facts you have.
Yeah.
Sometimes that decision is to go back and then start back and come back this way because you're on the wrong path.
Yeah.
But what I do see sometimes, whether business, life, marriage, whatever it is, sometimes people choose the wrong path and they're so worried about judgment that they double down on the path. Rather than saying, I love being proven wrong. I swear, I'm good. I learn from that. I'll pivot. I'll move on. I'm not sold on my own idea. I can be convinced out of my idea. All I'm doing is assessing that situation in that moment. Like with blood work. When we talk about blood work, I explain to people, that is a snapshot of you in time. That is not you forever. And so if it's bad or catastrophic, we can fix that. And we can take a step back. And the next time we look at your blood work, it's going to be great. But it starts with acknowledging it's catastrophic right now.
And I can attest to that. I think I've lost like 30 pounds since I've been working with Ways2Well, right? I every 90 days I get my blood done, and we micro tweak this. And the thing, not to get too far off topic, but the thing that was the most interesting to me is I had super high cholesterol, and so I cut out all red meat. That no one from Ways2Well told me to do that. I did that because I just thought, I go back in 90 days later, cholesterol's down just a little bit, but all of my vitamins and nutrients have plummeted. And the first thing then he says is, start eating red meat. Eat as much red meat as you can. Your body needs it, because they could actually see those things. But yeah, your character can either grow old and fat and weak and tired, or your character can get strong and muscular and learn to persevere. But the wave just kind of, it keeps, like, life just kind of keeps going, and you can just you can grab on and ride it and lean into it, which I think, you talked about manifestation. I can't manifest, a sword to land on this table. I can't do that, but I can manifest making it to the plane on time. You know what I mean? And so, but you have to believe that I will not miss this flight.
Yeah.
You know, and then you actually have to do everything you possibly can
To
There-
not miss that
So
flight.
I was actually we were going to the Tyson fight. I was flying with Ryan, and we're on the same flight, and I'm at like maybe 10 minutes from the airport, and it comes to a stop, and it's a stop, and I'm literally, it goes from 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 25 minutes. I'm just watching my GPS go to like 35, 40 minutes. The entire thing is red, and I'm like, he's like, dude, we're starting to board.
Oh shit.
Swear to God. Dude, we're starting to board. And I'm like, it's telling me 40 minutes. I make the flight.
Wow.
I don't know how,
So crazy.
but I mean, I maneuver. I get, and I have to park my car and run. And I get there, and I'm so frazzled that I miss the turn. I have to go out of the airport and back around to get to the car parking. I swear to God, as I'm coming in the front door of the airport, they go, flight whatever, you have 90 seconds and we're closing the door.
Oh my God.
And
I stressed.
and for whatever reason,
Yeah.
there's nobody in line at security. I run right. I'm the very first person. I throw my bag in. I sprint as fast as I can, and I make it with 30 seconds left.
Wow. That's heavy.
But
Yeah.
I think you can manifest things like that, and you can manifest small.
Well, part of
level-
that is like never giving up, right?
Yes.
As cliche as that sounds.
because
you
I
don't
could have
give
just been
up.
like, "Hey,
You
dude,
gotta cling
fuck,
to
40
hope.
minutes. I guess I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
I'll just sit here and wait." You know,
Yeah.
Or you go, there's nothing fucking stopping me. I'm going to get there. And I think that's where people get confused about manifestation. You can't manifest. I can't turn water into wine,
Yeah.
but I can get to the fucking liquor store before it closes. You know what I mean? Like there are things you can control.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
things you can manifest. But again, it has to be as part of the wave. Like I was going to get to Dallas for that fight regardless.
Or people let perfection get in the way of good. You know, I see that too. I have so many friends that are still in healthcare that want to get the hell out of being a drug rep or a device rep, but they've been telling me for 10 years, I hate this job. I can't stand. Well, change it.
Mm-hmm.
Change it. It's not going to be easy. If you're waiting for the perfect thing to fall in your lap out of the sky, that's not going to happen. But if you go out and drive towards change or something meaningful and refuse to die and fight tooth and nail, you'll survive. And if you find a purpose or a cause, like Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning, what he talks about, surviving that Nazi concentration camp and how he did it, it goes back to the same, almost cliche sayings that everyone else says. It's because he had a purpose. It's because he had a meaning. Or Elon Musk said, if the purpose or cause is good enough, you will find a way. You will never give up. And so his purpose this whole time has been, I've got to accrue enough wealth and build spaceships so I can make humanity an interplanetary species. If that crazy fucking idea can be a reality, then
Wild.
what else could be a reality? And he may do it.
Yeah.
But nobody would have thought that was possible 10 years ago. They didn't even
For
think you
sure.
could launch a rocket and re-land it. Nobody thought you could build an electric car market. Everything's impossible. And like David Goggins says,
Until it's
all
possible.
impossible until some crazy motherfucker does it. And then when they do it, like the mile time, nobody could get under a 5-minute mile. And then once the guy does it, it breaks the code and all of a sudden we can get under it.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
the
Or
biggest
4-minute mile.
maybe the
was.
biggest example of that is fucking skateboarding.
Yeah, a lot of people in skating for sure.
I mean, when I was a kid,
It's wild how much that sport's
Yeah.
gotten
Dude,
crazier
well,
and crazier
e-
and crazier.
Each new level of skateboarder, like all the new kids that come out, are so much gnarlier than the last.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting gnarlier.
So crazy.
Like the things that they can do are like things you can only do in a video game. And nowadays, like little kids can do it, and you're just
So
like,
nuts.
how?
Yeah, when
So
I was in
nuts.
when I was in middle school, if you could kickflip a 3, you were like, you
You're the
thought you might go
man.
pro one day.
Oh, yeah.
Now you gotta be able to do a backflip Christ air off a 3.
Oh, it's
You know what I mean?
wild.
Like it's
So nuts.
insane.
I wanted to say, your story reminds me of like a David and Goliath story, because you're like one dude and you're taking on this huge system that was put in place, but like you believed in what you were doing, and you have the good of the people in your sights, in your mind, and like that is like driving you to like, fucking take this thing apart and take this on head on. And I love that because it kind of gives, it like shows other people that they could stand up and, you know, join the fight as well, you know, and do it as well.
I appreciate it. I really do. Like, I just tell our team over and over again, if we make it about money, we are no different than big pharma.
Mm-hmm.
We are no different than big insurance. Our silver bullet, our magic, our ace up our sleeve is that we will not compromise.
Yeah.
We are going to make this about people and about helping people and about exposing truth. And I have to fucking believe if we keep doing that, we're going to be okay.
And you don't get assassinated.
But it was never, yeah. But it also was never about money to begin with. Look, I want to make money. Everyone wants to be successful.
But this is the
For
correct.
sure.
But there's a level of money that starts to just get unethical.
Yeah. It's
Like to be monetizing chronic disease and sickness to the tune of $370 billion while people are dying of cancer is like what United Healthcare is doing. While they're charging up, they just discovered 1,000 times
saw
more
that.
than they should have been on cancer treatments.
wow.
It's disgusting, man.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be a saint
Mm-hmm.
to like make a profit because it's so egregious what they're doing. It's crazy.
But that's what's wrong with capitalism, and I think that's why there are certain people who go capitalism is bad.
Yeah.
I don't think capitalism is bad. I think lack of integrity with any ism is bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? There's nothing wrong with going out, finding something that you're passionate about that brings, if not a better world to humanity, it brings not a worse world to humanity. And then you get to have a nice house and a nice car and buy your wife nice things, and because you work hard bringing the thing that you want into the world.
Yeah.
I think where the world gets fucked is when we go, let's make money at all by any means necessary.
And I've seen time and time again where it hurts and it's frustrating short term to watch people do really, really unethical stuff and kill it, because I'm like, dude, we're sitting, I mean, there were times where I'm sitting there struggling, putting my money into a company, hoping that this idea will resonate and work. And I'm watching other people, like the guys that, you know, embezzled from me, break off and just do the shadiest of things and print money hand over fist, like basically giving into the dark side of the industry and monopolizing and cannibalizing profitability on sick care. Well, it's too complicated to get into. And I could have sold out and gone that path. But what's wild is that was short-sighted because that all imploded on them.
Yeah,
They made great money for a little bit,
And then it was
and
gone.
then it was gone.
I was going to say, very rarely is there longevity in that game plan.
Yeah.
You know, in the get rich fast.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you've had a similar thing as I did, where it's like you become an overnight success at year like 11.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's a funny thing. I've talked with a lot of our friends about like becoming overnight successes at year 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah.
You know, and now all of a sudden people are like, oh, wow, how did he get so big so fast? It's like, well,
He's been around.
been doing this for a
Yeah, he's been
long
around.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's funny. And now there's a voice to this movement, and now people are waking up, and so much corruption, even testifying like that, even to me is hilarious, because forget your political standings and leanings. Look, we testified in front of the Senate about food and food poisons in our food, and everyone laughed and they said the Maha, what they call us, the woo-woo caucus is what and these articles came out just shitting all over us. Just that testimony. You can say whatever you want, but my girl Vonnie and that testimony is the reason red dye number 40 is no longer FDA approved. And you can say what you want, but you can look at the data and we can tell there is something not right with America. 40% obesity in men, chronic illness, deaths of despair at an all-time high. We don't need a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial to tell our system is failing us. And kids are the ones getting penalized the most. And the fact that just that conversation spurred that kind of movement from the FDA that quickly is very promising and to me invigorating, because it tells me That was step one. That was a tiny win. We're not here to ring it singing from the rooftops. Now let's roll our sleeves up and go to work.
Yeah.
Because the truth is there. And if we can expose the truth, what's going on with vaccines? What's going on with side effect profiles? What's going on with our food sources? What's going on with the pharmacy benefit managers and the insurance companies? That led to momentum. I did a call with a Congressman, Buddy Johnson out of Georgia 2 days ago. It's because he heard me on Tucker. And momentum breeds momentum.
Yep.
Truth finds a way. And I think Mark Twain said a lie makes it around the world twice before the truth gets out of bed, you know, and it's true. But truth will always find a way.
For sure.
And so I just view it as we're going to be on the side of truth. I'm going to keep ringing the bell, you know, until people get sick of hearing it and we do something about it. And it's working. And
Well, I
now-
think one of the reasons that you have, in my opinion, one of the reasons you've been monumental and influential in this situation is that your money is where your mouth is, right? You actually practice what you preach, and you're not just a random conspiracy theorist with a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, like you're actually like you're incredibly informed, but you're informed through personal experience, not because you read some. I mean, I know you've read a lot as well.
But I lived it. I lived it. Like to
Yeah.
answer your, like when we look at trials and tribulations and challenges, you know, I'm paraphrasing and trying to summarize because it's so much to unpack. But the insurance companies put us out of business. And I saw how they were putting me out of business. And that was at the pharmacy. And so I was exposed to their corruption tactics. And I was exposed to the PBMs. And that trauma and devastation and losing those employees and shutting down a business that I worked my ass off for taught me their playbook, which is what is allowing me to educate congressmen and congresswomen on what they're doing. And now I'm punching back. 5 years later, I'm literally building a groundswell of furious people that are coming after these PBMs. And Trump is claiming he's going to shut them down. He's going to clear out the... Will he? I don't know. I'm not here to tell you he will or won't. Same thing with Big Pharma. Because I worked in Big Pharma and I saw the playbook and I saw the corruption. And then I went from that to the insurances. It gave me line of sight into how they're colluding. And a doctor doesn't see that. So like, even though there's these brilliant doctors that know more about your body than I'll ever know, I know where the bodies are buried in healthcare because of the touch points from a drug rep to a surgical rep to owning labs, pharmacies, genetics labs, non-insurance labs, insurance labs.
You've touched every
all of
every
it.
sector of
And
the.
that's the only reason that I know what I know, and it gives me the ability to lay it all out in a way that hopefully makes sense so they can do something about it. Because that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to figure out how do we fix this and where do we start? Because it seems like such an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But even in healthcare, we could easily fix most of what we're doing, and Callie Mean says this, if we just focused on metabolic health. All of this shit about we're going to spend billions on trying to fix Alzheimer's, but it's all on selling a Band-Aid to all. Like my challenge with what our system does today, and if you really pull back the layers to the onion and dig in, the NIH is funded by our taxpayer dollars and by Big Pharma skewing what they want the NIH to develop. Well, they don't want the NIH to develop cures. They're out there selling Band-Aids for cuts. I'm out there saying we got to stop people from getting cut.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
sell you a Band-Aid for the cut.
Yeah.
I want to stop you from ever
But
getting
prevent
cut.
it before it happens.
aren't they also like in a sense selling you Band-Aids that won't allow the cut to heal?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
And
because
it's like
they want to keep making
perpetuating
money.
the issue that leads the average Americans on 4 or more prescription medicines. Why? Because Big Pharma is making billions.
Yep.
The insurance companies are making billions. If I'm an insurance company and you blow out your knee, I have a incentive to obstruct your ability to go to care, to have that surgical procedure. Why? Delay, deny, depose. What that Luigi kid put on the bullets. It's crazy. But terrible delivery, just to be clear. Terrible action,
Yeah.
not condoning the action. But it doesn't change that there is some truth to what these insurance companies are doing. You know, 1.7 million people are dying every year of chronic disease. That is because we have built a entire ecosystem profiteering off of the chronic disease. And so we don't heal chronic disease, we treat chronic disease. And we treat chronic disease without ever uncovering the root cause because the entire system is built to do that. And so the average American's now on 4 or more prescription drugs. 30% of 30% of every prescription drug, this isn't me saying it, this is a Senate Finance Committee, uncovered, is being profiteered by the insurance companies themselves that are perpetuating these chronic diseases and illness. So I'm Neen and I blow my knee out fucking skateboarding and I need to get in for surgery. Yeah. And they go, okay, well, you've got to go see a primary. Typically, the situation is you got to go see a primary. Okay, well, it may take you 2 months to get in with a primary.
So long.
Right?
Worst thing.
And now you get in with a primary. Primary goes, oh, I'm sorry, man. I don't do this. I got to send you to a specialist and we got to get an MRI.
Yep.
So then you go to a specialist. It takes another 2 months. And then in the meantime, let me write you this opioid to deal with the pain, dude. I know you're in pain. I hear you. The insurance company approves the opioid. It approves the drugs. It obstructs the surgery because they don't get a kickback on the surgery, but they do get a kickback on the drug, and they get a kickback on every drug. And if you monetize that drug across the entire patient population and you look at disease states like diabetes and you go, I can prevent your diabetes through diet, lifestyle, and nutrition. Well, there's no fucking money in that. Or I can let you progress to diabetes and I can sell you insulin and I can get 30% of the cost of your insulin every month. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to bill your employer for that insulin at a made up rate.
That is so
because I never
jacked.
paid that rate. So I'm getting paid almost 60% on your insulin, 30% that I got the kickback on, then the 30% I hit your employer for that I claim I paid that I didn't pay. You get what I'm saying? And so United Healthcare generated $373 billion in revenue. If you look at it, 60% of that came from their markup on prescription drugs.
And on and literally
They're
and
gangsters. They're drug dealers.
And on the
Yeah.
flip
That
side,
is fun.
when I started with Ways2Well, I was pre-diabetic, and now I'm not anymore.
Yep.
And so, like, it yes, you may make less money. Nobody needs $1 trillion. Nobody needs $1 billion.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to use that money for,
Become a multi-planetary species.
yeah. And look, everyone at this table, we all own our own home. We're not. It's not like but I do think that a path. I don't know. I mean, I do know why, but like, I really believe, like you and I have talked about some of the the plans for Ways2Well as it takes over the world in years to come, which I don't know if you want to. I'm not asking you to talk about it here because I don't know if you're ready to talk about those things. But like, it would be really great if you could lead by example and show the pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, that perhaps the longer you live, the more we like. I take 8 or 9 different vitamins every single morning. I shoot the HCG, 3 times a week. I spend money on my longevity and I spend money on my wellness.
Yep.
And I don't have insurance because I have insurance, but it doesn't cover it, which is funny because I pay for insurance, but I don't use it because everything I do doesn't cover it. But but like, there's got to be a way where big pharma goes, okay, let's switch our business model. And I think if that ever happens, whether or not you get the credit for it, I think you will have always played a big role in that shift in our world, because I could see a world where the world becomes more about integrity, and whether it's for integral reasons or because you're just going to get caught on candid camera and it's going to go viral, but like, they easily could make money by selling you preventative medicine in the same way that they sell you the medicine that isn't preventative.
Yeah.
And if you live long enough, or if you got preventative, you'll live longer.
Yeah,
and you'll want to keep preventing.
Exciting,
And
like
you'll make
really
more money.
Yeah, right?
You and I have talked about this and kind of on that same talk track. It's exciting. It's interesting stuff. The future is bright with large language models, artificial intelligence, the moves we're making in biologics, the advancements in our understanding of the human genome, the direction this stuff could head. Like my mentor and our chief science officer, Dr. Ian White, graduated from Harvard and Ansari Stem Cell Institute, 22 years of researching stem cells.
Wow.
Dude, when he starts talking, I get jazzed up because it's crazy. He's like, we share a common ancestor with the Greenland shark. It lives 400 to 600 years with 0 cancer rate.
Wow.
We share a common ancestor with the Galapagos tortoise. It lives 200 years. We share a common ancestor with the eternal jellyfish that we say lives 5,000 to 6,000 years, but it dies and rebirths and lives again. It never dies. It's eternal. We share a genetic makeup with those creatures. And his hypothesis is within our genome is a black box. And if we can find that black box, we can turn on these gene traits that stop cancer.
Well, you just
that
need,
stop aging.
You just need a game genie for that, right?
Yeah.
That's to find the black box.
Exactly. And so I just think like the future could be really, really bright. And this, I think we'll look back and go, wow, that's crazy that we used to just write drugs to treat symptoms. I just think it's so narrow-minded and insane. Like the cancer that develops in your 40s started in your 30s. The diabetes that hits you in your 50s started in your 40s.
Well, now you have the thing, right, where you can go and get screened for like a blood test for all the different cancers that could be coming at you in the future.
Yeah, we can look at over 200 different types of cancers and detect them at stage 0.
That's why
the survival rate of stage 0 is literally almost 100%. It's
Neen,
like
we need to go have a double date.
Yeah.
Get our blood.
Go, dude.
And it's like, why would we not be implementing these protocols, at least on like, maybe like every 2 years, every 3 years, or with first responders and military personnel, I would argue every year. These are the people putting their lives on the line for this nation, and they disproportionately are impacted by cancer rates.
For sure.
Because they're exposed to so much shit.
Going into fires,
Carcinogens and
smoke,
smoke and chemicals and all of it. And we could be screening and protecting these people.
Well, here's an interesting story. I don't think I've ever told you this before. It might have been my very first Ways to Well visit. It might have been the right before. I can't remember. Anyways, it was right before. I got my blood test done because we found out that Margarita was pregnant. And she's like, you need a physical. You haven't been to a doctor since 15 years. My LDL was like 210 or something like that, which is high. And there was so I was actually in Chicago, and I was doing a sushi service, and we were serving the bone marrow course. And I made a joke. Someone was like, "Oh, I could eat 10 of these," and I was like, "Well, then you'll end up like with me, like crazy high cholesterol." I was making a joke, and one of the ladies sitting down goes, "How high is your cholesterol?" I was like, "Oh, 210." She goes, "I'm sorry to ruin the mood. I am a cardiologist. You need to get on what is it? Statin like now. Like this is genetic.
Jesus.
You are going to die. Like I had the worst anxiety. I almost couldn't finish the service. Thought I was fucking dying just hearing all this stuff. And she was like, you need to go tomorrow to this hospital and get, is it called a rapid heart scan or something like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so I did. And I get the rapid heart scan, and it says 0 to 400, 0 being no calcium buildup, 400 being like you're about to fucking die, dude. And I had 0. I tested 0, and had I not gone and taken that test, and then I immediately started Ways to Well, and they were like, yeah, that's not what's happening right now. And now we've been working, and my cholesterol's going down.
And that's what's crazy is that.
But most people would just get the fuck on statin because the doctor scares you so much that you think you're going to die. Yes.
A lot of that is dogma because the truth of the matter is.
Well, by the way, I don't think that lady was a bad person. I think she believed what she was told because that's
my
her
rebuttal
experience.
to that when clinicians say that is like saying that. Because every time I've seen a crime and I saw a police car, that means police cars cause crimes.
Yeah.
Right? It's at the scene of the crime, but it may not be the culprit. And that is why over 70% of people who have heart attacks have normal cholesterol.
Yeah.
And cholesterol is crucial to feeding testosterone levels. And so there's a whole array, and this is a problem with clinicians in America, is they look at one panel and they silo that off. And cholesterol is a component of a much bigger picture. And we shouldn't be looking at one panel and going, okay, well, let me tell you your health record. Like, no, you've got to scan back, get the lay of the land, checks and balances, everything's intertwined. Let's look at all these other biomarkers. Let's assess you at a deeper level, and let's come up with a game plan and strategy that makes sense, because you don't want to falsely ring the alarm, and you also don't want to jump to a conclusion. And if you're only looking at one thing, like a basic lipid panel, which is what most primary cares are going to look at, that's all they're going to run.
Yeah. All they know is you have high cholesterol.
Yes.
They don't know that you have high cholesterol but low testosterone. And if you were to raise your testosterone, your cholesterol will go down.
Yeah.
And then, for me, I have dozens of friends now who work with Ways2Well, and they're the healthiest and fittest people I know.
I love it.
You know,
I
and,
love
like,
it,
I could
seriously.
like I have a picture of me.
And I did this because I was fat. I was literally 25% body fat. My dad's diabetic. My brother's diabetic. My sister's diabetic. I'm sitting here going, well, fuck, I guess I'm just going to be fat and diabetic. I don't know.
Or you can turn to page 12 and say, fuck that, I'm not going.
That's what I did. I hired a nutritionist. I went and met with a
Fuck yeah.
urologist. Even the urologist, when I met with this guy, he's like, I don't know if you're fat because you have low testosterone or if you have low testosterone because you're fat. But what I do know is you're definitely fat with low testosterone. And I'm like, thanks, Dick.
Well, I mean,
Like,
that's
but he was right.
yeah. I mean that is really, that is the thing, is that we've normalized getting fat, having low testosterone, being tired, being complacent,
Eating a bunch of processed food.
while there are certain companies that are profiteering off of the normalization of that. And so what I think is so awesome about what you've been doing is that you are trying to point a light and say, hey, these guys are normalizing the thing, it's fucking killing you.
Yeah.
So at a minimum, just take a look at the fact that there are people who actually are profiteering off your normalization of things that are killing you.
Yeah. And even then, I hate to go back to it because the red dye, it's not this monumental win, but it's a base hit, right? You got a player on base hit, boom. Now let's get a few more base hits and then go for a grand slam. 6 months ago, the FDA was saying this dye is safe. Then when we start asking them to quantify how it's safe, and you really look at like all of these different food dyes,
And they can't.
they're based off of, is it safe in the dosage and in the amount that is specified in that bowl of Lucky Charms, in that bowl of Fruit Loops.
I'm going to tell you something that
Nobody eats a cup of Fruit Loops. Your
way.
kid is going to fill it. When I was a kid, on a Saturday,
5 bowls.
I'd eat a bowl
You
in
ever-
front of watching cartoons.
You ever look at the back of a
chip?
chip bag? There's each portion or serving in a chip bag is like 4 chips.
Yeah,
Who's ever eaten
bullshit.
4 chips? You know, there's an interesting
And
thing.
then you multiply that times every meal you eat that day. And then you multiply that times body weight, right? If I'm a child, I am more disproportionately, and that it's even the same thing with vaccines. They know there's metal particulates and contaminants in these vaccines. And it's okay if you're a grown adult. And the safety studies were in grown adults. Nobody has ever looked at this in an infant. Why in infants is sudden death syndrome higher than ever? Why has our vaccine schedules increased? And I'm not here to play conspiracy theorist. I'm just here to say, can we ask the question?
Yeah.
Can we not say, I'm not saying correlation is causation, but what I'm saying is we should at least be able to ask the fucking question.
Well, in the same way,
Like-
I mean, I like what you just said about you go and you say, we think the red dye is bad. Fair enough. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Show us how it's good. In them trying to show you how it's good, they realize, oh, no, it's not good.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and there's
It's
so
actually
so
not necessary.
Yeah.
what-
exactly.
what you brought up about how much you can consume is an interesting thing because it does actually, there's a thing in my industry that I hate. So the health departments require, this is something that happened actually when I was working at Jamba Juice when I was like 14, right? You always have to, if you every Jamba Juice has like you can see their dish area and they always spray it out and they dunk in the 3 compartment sink.
Sanitize all
The
that.
last one is sanitizer, and then they put it upside down to let it drip dry. Sanitizer, like when I was working there, sanitizer is bleach, essentially, right? And if you're out of sanitizer, you're supposed to use a cap of bleach for every gallon, right? The government has said you are okay to consume a certain amount of bleach per day, right? And so I grew up to become a chef, right? So my palate, for whatever reason, I could taste the sanitizer in my smoothie. And so when I would make one for myself, I would take the clean sanitized one and I would rinse it out because everybody was consuming. It's not a Jamba Juice thing. This is every restaurant, every food facility that follows the rules does this. Now, I'm literally last week in Denver.
I can taste it in glasses, especially with water.
Oh, you ever
Yeah,
been
and I
in a
remember
restaurant?
When I worked well, I won't say where I worked, but I remember exactly what you're saying. Taking these big, you'd put all the glasses in those plastic bins and you dunk them,
Yeah.
and run them through the wash.
And if you've ever been to a restaurant and you pick up to take a sip of your water or your beer and it smells like a pool, it's because there's chlorine and bleach in that glass.
Yeah.
Because the government has required that to keep you safe from bacteria.
Yeah.
And like literally I was in Denver last week and we were breaking down fish, and they had a sanitizer bucket on the thing, and they were wiping down the cutting board, and I was like, don't do that. They're like, well, it's sanitize. I go, sanitize it, and then get ripping hot water. There's two ways that you can wash dishes in a restaurant. You can do it with chemicals, or you can do it just with hot water. If you do hot water, though, you have to put a hood system. But the idea is boiling hot water sanitizes, and if you can't boil the hot water, chemicals sanitize. And so they're wiping down their cutting board with sanitizer and then putting fish on it. And I was like, dude, now you have sanitizer flavor fish. And the government says, but it's not enough to hurt you.
Yeah.
But one, I don't want to eat sanitizer, and I don't want my guests to eat sanitizer.
Definitely not.
But two, I don't want the fish in a sushi restaurant to taste like sanitizer. That's not a good flavor.
Yeah. Well, and you learn too, like you know the food industry, I know the healthcare industry, and I look at it and go, people just think, oh, this is FDA approved, so it's safe. When you look at the recall rates on drugs that make it through the FDA process, it's insane.
Well,
when you look at less than 2% of adverse events are reported, and we're still recalling 30% of FDA approved drugs.
I mean, according to the FDA, eggs have only been good for about 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like 3 weeks. Was that a real article? I saw?
No.
I saw
They had
that
put
one, too.
eggs on the naughty list that they were bad for us, and now eggs are good. And then it's just crazy. And then,
But red dye
even,
number
like,
7
if we
is
go,
good for
I
you.
broke this down. If you go on to surgical equipment, people think if you get a knee replacement, you just assume that that's been researched in human safety studies. And no.
Not
The
at
truth
all.
of the matter is most of the products in the OR, over 90% of the implants getting put in bodies today have never had a human safety study.
No way.
Not one.
That's
They
crazy.
Well, that's
used what's
why
called
every-
the 510K approval process. The FDA created a loophole, and they thought less than about 5% of products would come through this loophole, but it pivoted to where like 100% of the products in the operating room came through this loophole. To the point where like even like the Da Vinci robot, like these robotic companies in the operating room, they're
way.
daisy chained off of prior technologies. So the way I try and explain it to people is it's like going from a rotary phone at your house, and that had FDA approval with a safety study, and you were able to daisy chain all the way to the iPhone 17. It's not the same piece of technology. There's a lot going on there, and it's a lot different. And so most of the stuff, and it's a ticking time bomb, because everything in the OR, all the technology in the OR, one of the companies I worked for, I was in the middle of surgery, and every time the surgeon would go to do something crucial, he would use like this electrode to stop the bleeding, and he'd hit the electrode, and the cameras would all shut off. And we couldn't see. You're doing this laparoscopically. So think of it like a video game.
Inside,
Every
yeah.
time you're at the point where you got to jump on the skateboarding game, the camera shuts off.
Oh no.
But it's your life.
Yeah.
It's somebody's
Yeah.
life. And
That is
that
so
was because that
sketchy.
technology got launched into the OR without any major study to see if it would work with all the other components in the OR. And we don't even know how this stuff is going to intertwine with each other.
Well, that's why every time you stay at a hotel and you watch TV and you see late at night and you see that commercial, if you had this, then you can join the, if you between this year and this year,
Yeah.
if you have mesh,
lawsuits.
Yeah.
like, right? That's why that keeps
100%.
popping up.
Yeah. Yeah, they had they were using for a stint there. They were using mesh for women's hysterectomies and different things, and then this mesh began to merge into the uterus, and so they would have to do emergency hysterectomies and take out women's uteruses and make them infertile for the rest of their life
Wow.
because they were putting mesh in there to hold things together, and they just thought, oh, it'll be fine, but there was never a human safety study, and the uterus begins to eat up the mesh and essentially absorb into the uterus, and that starts causing uteral pain, cramps, all this
plastic in
issues. And yeah, it's just like a piece of metal plastic in your uterus, and so they'd go in and have to do emergency procedures. And so literally, like, I don't know the number, but hundreds of thousands of women across the United States lost their ability to have children because they put this mesh in their bodies that had never been investigated. And
Wow.
there's
That's
hundreds of
insane,
stories
dude.
like that.
So I feel like we could spend hours talking
Yeah,
about this
yeah,
kind of
for
stuff,
sure.
and you do spend,
Yeah.
most of your time talking about this stuff. There is a question we like to ask, sort of as we start to wrap things up, and that is, and I'm interested to hear your response to this, because for a lot of people, it's not necessarily an act of selflessness, and I'm curious, if I could put a magic lamp on this table right now, and you could have any wish you had, what does your life and the life of your businesses look like 10 years from now? What does the world look like to you 10 years from now? If you could control anything you wanted.
The world or my businesses?
Your world.
Yeah. I mean, in my world, and I say this all the time, is there's darkness and there's light in each of us. And I have a lot of darkness. We all have a lot of flaws, man. And I really believe, like, I fight really hard to not let that darkness out, to not let all that brokenness and woundedness, and it's easy to give up on people. It's the easy way out. The dark way out is to go, people are shitty and don't trust anyone. And, I believe that people innately are good and bad. And if we bring good into the world, we can bring out the good in people. And we build our world. When we talk about manifesting, I've had people go, well, these guys are just shitty. And so then I became shitty. And it's like, well, or you could do good and then hope that you bring the good out in people. And that's what I view with healthcare. Healthcare is almost a mirror of the human soul. Like when we're chronically ill, chronically sick, deaths of despair at an all-time high in America, suicide is greater than that of the Great Depression. It's not just that we're physically sick. We are emotionally sick. And if I had a genie, I would wish for health for everyone, mental health, emotional health. Humanity's sick.
But okay, so let me I guess for your thing, I'll rephrase it slightly. Because for some people, it's like, well, I hope to be selling out arenas in 10 years, or
Yeah.
But for you, of course, you
I want
wish
to
for
build.
health.
The truth
how
is,
do,
and what
how
I've
do
told
you
my
get? How do
team
you
is
get it there?
the vision is, I want to build a company that changes the face of healthcare and helps drive health span. And I want to make a positive impact. And I want to build something big and successful that is impacting the whole world. Like that would be my goal. And I think how we get there is, if we pull off all the things I'm working on and we integrate large language models and we are on the cusp of the cutting edge of the science with, biology and what we can achieve with the human genome and large language models and stem cells and biologics and peptides, somewhere, somehow, someone's going to get a breakthrough. Whether it's me, somebody else, that doesn't matter. I would just be happy to see that breakthrough happen and to know that maybe I was just a little ripple that created part of a movement. But I believe that we're going to keep fighting for that. And I think that I can build something, I hope, that stands the test of time, where when I'm on my deathbed, I go, man, that was really cool. Like we did something cool. We did something really cool. And we made good money and we helped people and we didn't lose our way.
Well, something tells me, unless you get assassinated, you'll be around for a long time because you'll be at the front of whatever cool stuff is coming up.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you how much Ways2Well has done for me.
Same here, man.
For my family, for my wife. We're all we swear by it. We tell everyone. I mean, I wish I had a picture of 10 years ago. I looked 10 years older than I do now.
Yeah.
So
wild. And
I can't wait to show you guys the new stuff. Like the new clinic's opening, the app, the software. It's launched. The beta's
want all
launched.
of it.
It's going to be wild.
I've already told you I want all of it. I'll guinea pig all of it.
What's coming up?
So the new clinic is opening, but it's just a different vision of how we handle things. Like each room will have a 3D hologram built into the wall, like Star Wars. So when you come in, it's already going to know that you're in that room. You can talk to Alan, the alien, but he's floating in a 3D hologram, and he'll know your medical records, everything. So while you're waiting on the clinician to get whatever done,
you have someone
you got
to talk
Alan
to.
to talk to.
That's
but
rad.
it's trying to make it more like a place where you don't dread going to the doctor. So we've got walking trails, we've got a coffee shop built in.
Dope.
It's kind of like this studio. Like it's just a cool place to congregate. It's got a dope vibe. But when you get there, we're going to be able to do DEXA, VO2 max, hyperbaric. Our red light is an aortic chamber. It's crazy. It's like red light, grounding pads, electromagnetic, all of it in one. Sound therapy, 20 minutes of like meditation while you're getting the red light, all built into one. And I'm just trying to find the coolest technologies that are out there and emerging that oftentimes you're not going to find in a regular practice because everything's based off insurance. And insurance is based off profits. And so our thing is, what's cool shit that can help people, and can I afford it? And if so, I'll buy it and put it in our
Throw
practice.
that in. That's
And
so
so that's
sick.
kinda
I can't
what-
wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
But the large language model and Alan and the AI and the software is going to be crazy because it'll monitor you 24/7, tie into your wearable, your REM sleep, your deep sleep, your heart rate variability. What date did you start treatment? And you have that doctor in your pocket all the time. So when you come to the clinic, you have a 3D Alan floating in the wall. But when you're at your house, you can just boot up the
You have
app
him
and
in there.
ask Alan. And
Yeah.
Alan will pull from your medical records. He records your phone conversations with the doctor and remembers everything the doctor told you. So when you leave that meeting and
crazy,
you don't
dude.
remember, which
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
what did Denise tell me about peptide BPC 157 and
Mm-hmm.
why I'm... Alan will know all of that because he recorded the conversation, documented the conversation, and can regurgitate the conversation in a casual, layman way.
That's wild.
Yeah,
dude.
and I just think that's the tip of the iceberg. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be crazy what we're able to do with AI.
You think it'll get to the point where you have a wearable on and it goes, you're going to have a heart attack in 45
Oh,
minutes.
for sure.
Get to
Absolutely.
the hospital
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Gnarly.
I think we're going to know in advance before any chronic disease develops, and we're going to look back and say it was archaic that we prescribed drugs for this. We now know like years in advance. Like, imagine if you were to come in and do a DEXA and a VO2 max and run through a full workup and give me your genetics and give me your blood work. I know your genetics, your epigenetics. I know your lean muscle mass, your visceral fat, your subcutaneous fat. The AI can then calculate your risk of all-cause mortality, quantify the 5 killers of man. Which one of those 5 killers are you most likely to develop because of your genetic makeup and your body composition and your blood work? And now we can get proactive and predictive and drive health span. And we can drive down the risk factors and gamify it and tie it to your friends where you can compete against each other and you can be like, dude, my biological age is down 7 years. What's yours at?
Gamify it,
and make
right?
it fun.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how my buddy Keegan, you guys know, Keegan.
Yeah, Keegan. Oh, yeah.
Keegan Allen, do you know Keegan?
I think I've met him at one.
He's friends with Jared. Or
Okay.
he was on Walker with
Oh
with
yeah,
Jared.
yeah. Yes, I've met Keegan, the jiu-jitsu guy. Yeah.
No, I
No,
don't
then
think. No, I mean he was. You might have met him at the Margarita's baby shower.
Okay.
Were you at the baby shower?
I've met Keegan, and I swear.
Oh, right. He's right there.
Yeah. He does. I swear, he said he does jiu-jitsu.
Well, maybe he does.
He
now or
probably
something.
does.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't-
I don't know him as a
I know
jiu-jitsu
he's
guy.
training hard.
He's ripped as fuck, but he's the one who got me started on this entire thing because when we first moved to Austin, I was living on the second floor and I get winded walking up the stairs, and he was wearing
That's so crazy.
I know, because now I run 5 miles a day most days of the week, and I do it. I always schedule like a business meeting or conference call while I'm running, and my goal is that no one can tell I'm running because I don't lose my breath while I'm doing 6 miles an hour.
That's so funny.
But here's a really funny story. I think you'll remember this. So he gets me hooked up with the Whoop, and we join a team together. Right now, this dude is one of the most ripped dudes you know.
Yeah.
So like, it's me versus him, right? And Whoop assigns us a background, and it's a picture of him with his shirt off.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I used to do stuff.
Small
with
world.
wolves.
But the point of this whole funny story is that the gamification of waking up and seeing if I could beat him in his recovery, beat him in how much what he does every day, and all of those things, the strain versus recovery, that actually did help me tremendously. So to have that, I think will help people a lot.
Yeah.
I think we should also shout out where people could find you
Yeah.
and like Ways to Well and all that.
Yeah.
stuff, too.
Ways to Well is just Ways, the number 2, well, WELL.com. And then we have an Instagram, Ways, the number 2, well, where we're updating everything that's going on. And then I think mine's Ferris Bueller 81
Oh, yeah.
is my Instagram. But yeah. And everything we're doing is out there. We're trying to keep people updated via social media and a lot of content. I hope to expand on that. We are, some cool stuff coming. We're doing a psychedelic study with Dell Medical. I'm a big proponent of psychedelics and how I think they can help humanity and heal
Definitely.
wounds and help us raise our consciousness and hopefully come out better on the other end. So we're going to try and do, or we are doing a study officially that's got approved at Dell Medical School looking at psilocybin.
Sick.
I want to get into ibogaine and some of these other studies at our clinics. But I just think the future's bright, and I think there's a ton of opportunity. and I'm excited to see what we can find, what we can uncover.
That is amazing. And just for everyone at home, if you at all are worried about, wondering about, care about your health, go to Ways2Well.
Yeah.
I just that you should, because you get a blood test. You go to. I went to HEB and got a blood test.
Yeah.
Right, and then they send it off, and then a week later I get on a Zoom, and they're like, "Here's like a full comprehensive thing of everything." It's like, all right, you need 5% more of this, 10% less of that. Do this, do that, and then you do that every 90 days, and you start feeling like, wow, I feel like I'm a teenager again.
Yeah, because people don't realize, you know this as a chef and as somebody who, like, I can teach you to bake a perfect cake. If you can follow instructions, I can tell you the exact amount of ingredients under the exact right temperature. You're going to bake the perfect cake.
Yeah.
But even a better way for analogy for that is that, yes, there is but not every oven is exactly the same, right?
Yes, yeah.
So it's like you're inspecting the oven and being like, okay, in this oven, it needs to actually go 10 degrees to the left. And this, because like when I took the genetic methylation test, I found out that I don't methylate. I don't methylate vitamin B or B12. Is that what?
Yeah.
So like, so I'm taking all these vitamins
Yeah.
and it's not doing anything because I'm taking a
Yeah.
multivitamin. So now I have a methylated B12. I have a specific
things that
magnesium
work better.
because everyone just thinks, oh, I take vitamins.
Yeah, and it just
But
works.
not everyone. And so, anyways, people should, if they care at all about their health, they should. I'm obsessed with it.
I love it.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with that.
No, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
man.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
And thank y'all for having me on, man.
Thank you for being here.
Fuck yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate it. And I hope that I hope people listen to this, and I hope that you don't need more business. So it's not about making you money, but I hope just the world starts to because like
Think about it a little bit more deeply, right?
yeah, because you feel so much better when you actually take care of yourself, and you can take care of yourself by actually understanding what you're missing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying don't eat the don't eat the McDonald's, but if you're gonna eat the McDonald's, at least make sure that you have the proper amount of vitamins and nutrients. And
Yeah.
if you're gonna drink Coca-Cola, get your baseline right.
Yeah.
You know, don't drink Coca-Cola. But if you do,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
a lot
and
better
it
if you have your
truly helps
baseline
to
right.
quantify and go, look, it's not about being perfect. It's about being better. And we're all genetically different, and we all have different genetic risks and profiles. And let's dive into that, and let's give you a blueprint for success, and let's help quantify for you the risk profile for you, for your oven.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is the chance
Yeah.
that you blow the oven up if you cook this way? And
Yeah,
we
for
can help
sure.
you dial it.
Well,
So thank you guys.
I appreciate what you do. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for
fun.
fighting the good fight, brother.
I appreciate
Thank you.
everything.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Hit subscribe now if you want to follow along. We have some awesome guests lined up that we sit down with. Make sure you follow the Not a Damn Chance podcast on socials at NADC Podcast. We'll see you next week.